This is kind of charming. And it's from the Salt Lake Herald, Salt Lake City, Utah, October 4th, 1891. The title is Home Stretch of the Great Matrimonial Handicap of the Season. The pretty girls who are in it to win it. Anyway, it says, a trip to Lenox reminds one of a certain tale in the Arabian Nights. A hero who was seeking the object of his love was directed to sail a stream, cross a country, drive a distance by conveyance, climb a hill, climb another hill, go through a wood, then through another wood, go on to top of the highest bluff he could find, and then look around. When you go to Lenox, you will probably have to do all of these. You will certainly have to climb a hill after the train leaves you, and you will be compelled to go through several woods and climb several more hills before you come to Lenox itself. Suddenly you find yourself at Curtis's, and of course you will have to go there because everybody else is there. And a curious feeling comes over you that after all you must be in New York. The street in front of the hotel is torn up, and great stones have been brought in various wagons, and the road is blocked with boulders, stream rollers, gravel wagons, etc., as if it were New York and the city were being treated to its annual tear-up. But it isn't New York. For inside the little hotel parlor is a fire burning in the big fireplace, and half a dozen chilly matrons are gathered around its glowing embers, rehearsing their ailments and darting indignant glances at the frolicsome crowds of gay young people who, regardless of possible coughs, colds, and influenza, are standing in the open doorway or crowding out on the stuffy little piazza. Yet it certainly is very like New York, because here are all the familiar New York faces. And yet it isn't like it at all, because Lenox has not a disagreeable element in its composition. While New York is charming, to be sure, but in New York one sees people who do not belong to the 400. But at Lenox there are just 400 and no more. When you get into the dining room, a surprise awaits you. You did not expect to find so many well known people there. You had no idea Lenox was all cottage life, and that, as for the hotel, the cottagers were not in it. Yet, if you look around you, you will see that they are very much in it, and that they come here 3 times a day for the refreshment which makes the inner man of the select, which even the inner, okay, come here 3 times a day for the refreshment which even the inner man of the select 400 requires. At one table, Mrs. Nelson, and beside her sits her brother, the famous Frederick Gibbon, and nearby are Major Chapin and his pretty wife, who were entertaining Mrs. Cleveland a few years ago when they came to Lenox as a bride. Mrs. Nelson, you may remember, lost her husband only a few months ago, and by some strange fate his death occurred just as Mrs. Nelson obtained a divorce from him. Shall you go in mourning for your husband? Asked someone of Mrs. Nelson. No, indeed, I shall not go in mourning for him. Him? Why should I? I've been trying for years to get rid of that man. Now, why should I mourn because he is gone? I love Mrs. Nelson. Nielsen.